Let's be honest, nothing boosts confidence quite like great hair. But if you're seeing more strands in the shower, your confidence might not be at its highest. And that's why you need Hers Hair. Hers Hair treatments are made with doctor-trusted prescription ingredients that many other hair products out there just don't have. They come in a variety of options, including oral and topical solutions, so you can find the one that works for you. And they even have options with added hair vitamins and supplements for extra support. Getting started is simple with a quick online hair quiz. Just answer some questions and you will be connected with a provider to discuss your personalized treatment plan. And through Hers, everything is 100% online. So no pharmacy trips, doctor's office visits, or insurance required. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/KKC. That's forhers.com/KKC for your personalized hair loss treatment options. forhers.com/KKC. Individual results may vary. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information. As the temperature starts rising, I feel that familiar urge to refresh my closet, but I'm not wasting money on pieces that I'll only wear once or for just one season. Quince changes that. Their clothes are timeless, lightweight, and far more elevated than anything else at this price. It finally feels like my wardrobe matches my standards. Like 100% European linen shorts and dresses from $30, luxe swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and so much more. The best part? Everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury, but without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. For example, my favorite thing to get right now, 100% organic cotton cropped cardigan. Get it in vintage rose. Give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/KKC for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/KKC to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/KKC.
The amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey, and welcome back to this Saturday series episode. On June 1st, 1985, a welfare check was requested for Kathryn Wilhoit at number A in 1106 North Country Club Drive, inside the Osage Hills apartment complex in Tulsa, Oklahoma. North Country Club Drive was a residential corridor, hugging the edge of the shopping center and school properties around it. Apartments lined both sides, interspersed with low-rise multifamily buildings. The street was tree-lined and relatively calm, especially during weekdays, but close enough to shopping that normal pedestrian and car traffic from locals and families was common. Kathy Wilhoit had failed to show up for work and was not responding to phone calls, which was highly unusual for her. Friends and family members became concerned about her sudden silence, especially since she was the mother of 2 infant daughters and was known to be very responsible and attentive. When no one could reach her, the Tulsa Police Department performed the welfare check at her apartment. When officers entered her unit at the Hills apartment, they found Kathryn brutally murdered, her throat slashed. Her children, Kim and Krissy, ages 4 and 14 months, were unharmed, but were crying in their cribs. The neighbors had heard their cries. Her estranged husband, Greg, was arrested nearly a year later and charged with capital murder. Prosecutors argued he killed her during a visit following their separation. The key evidence was a bite mark on her breast and rare bacteria allegedly linking to him. He was convicted in 1987 and sentenced to death row. In 1991, 11 forensic odontologists testified that the bite mark did not match Greg's teeth and the bacterial link was flawed. His original defense attorneys were found to have been ineffective, weakening the case further. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the conviction, and he was fully acquitted in 1993 and exonerated. He later joined anti-death penalty advocacy and passed away in 2014. Kathy Wilhoit's murder remains unsolved. In 1985, Tulsa was seeing rising crime, particularly in North Tulsa, correlated with the crack cocaine epidemic and gang-related activity. Though Osage Hills itself was regarded as more stable than nearby zones, Is it possible that someone had known her and had committed this murder, or was it a complete stranger? My guest today is Kathy's daughter, Krissy. It is her hope that someone, somewhere, has answers. Here is my interview. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, walk me through your first memories as a child.
My first memories are just me and my sister. She's 10 months younger than me, just kind of taking care of her and being with her.
Tell me what you know about your mother from stories that her friends and her family have shared.
Well, I don't know a ton from people she personally knew. Unfortunately, her parents died when I was 20 and I didn't know them super well. So most of what I know comes from my family, but they only knew her for a couple of years. But from what I've been told, she was a really sweet person, really caring and nice. She had a lot of issues, though. My parents, they met in drug rehab in 1983. And within 2 months of meeting, they were pregnant with me. And then they had my sister 10 months later. And then she died when my sister was 4 months old. So it was literally like 2 years of knowing her. But yeah, she had her issues with drugs and some psychiatric problems. But from everything I've been told, she was still a really sweet person.
After her mother's death, whose home did you go to?
Immediately after she died, they couldn't contact, they didn't know who to contact. So for, I believe, 24 hours, we were in an emergency foster care situation until they were able to contact our family. And then we went to be with our father, and his parents, my grandparents, helped him a lot. But yeah, we lived with him until he was arrested a year later.
So after he was arrested, you're at an age where you're starting to build memories. Mm-hmm. What were your memories as a child, and how often did people talk to you about what had happened to your parents?
They did talk often about what happened, but in very childlike terms. As I got older, they expanded on the story as I got more mature. But as a child, they did talk to me a lot about it. I don't remember ever not knowing what had happened. They said that somebody beat up Mommy Kathy and she went to heaven.
What was that like for you to process? Do you have any memory of that?
It was confusing. They say that I started asking a lot of questions when I was about 4 and 5, and that's when they really started going into more details. But I don't know. I just remember feeling confused sometimes, but also it was the only reality I knew. So just accepting it.
Mm-hmm. And who were you living with after your father was arrested?
They knew the arrest was going to be imminent. I guess he knew something was coming. So my family, they didn't feel like they could raise 2 little girls. My grandparents were getting older. There was nobody else. My dad had 2 sisters, but they had their own things going on. So they reached out through the church that they went to and basically said, we have these 2 little girls if anybody wants them.
Wow.
And they found a couple in the church, and they ended up taking us. It was going to be a temporary thing, and it turned into our whole lives. I went to live with them when I was 2.5. And to me, they're the only parents I ever knew as my parents. And they raised me my whole life.
Did they have other children at the time?
They did. They had their own biological children, boy-girl twins who are 11 years older than me.
Wow. What an extraordinary act of generosity.
Yeah, they were great people.
So as you're getting older, did you find yourself trying to research information about your parents?
Yeah, I did. The internet started, getting bigger when I was a teenager. So that helped a lot. But my family was always pretty open with me about everything that happened. All I had to do was ask.
This obviously must have been a very big story at this time. Did you ever feel like the story had taken a life of its own?
No, not really. Tulsa is a pretty big city, and that's where it happened, was Tulsa. So nobody really knew about it unless I told them. I did feel like maybe people in the family that raised me, sometimes I'd hear like aunts and uncles like make comments about my dad, basically, oh, he probably really did it, and just, stuff like that. That would kind of make me mad.
Mm-hmm. So what do we know about June 1st, 1985 at this point?
I know that the crime happened overnight between May 31st and June 1st, sometime in that nighttime. And she lived in an apartment. She'd only lived there a couple of weeks. My parents were very recently separated. And she had made some friends in the apartment, and they had plans to go shopping that day. And they knocked on her door and nobody answered. And then they could hear my sister and I crying all throughout the day. And they just kept hearing us crying. And even though they didn't know her well, they said they knew her enough to know she wouldn't just let us keep crying like that. So they did flag down some police officers that were in the area and convinced them to look into the home.
And as the officers entered the home, where did they find you, and where was your mother's body?
Well, I've spoken with the officer who found us. I tracked him down a couple of years ago, and he said that there was a window that was about head length with him. So he broke through the window, and when he looked in the window, he could see the body of her, and then he could see into a bedroom where my sister and I were. She was only 4 months old, but I was 14 months old, and so I was standing up in my crib. And he said he could see me, my head just bobbing up and down, and I was crying. So he had to lift his partner in through that window, and he went and got my sister and I and handed us out through the window.
Did that officer talk to you about what that experience was like at all?
Yeah, he did. He was not, he was a police officer for drugs. He rode a horse around. This was a real country area, I guess. And so he was not accustomed to finding bodies like this. This was not his area. And so he always remembered that story because it was one of only a handful of times that he found a body like that. So it really impacted him.
And then, of course, these two little girls that are crying in their beds.
Yeah. He said he remembers holding me, and he said my diaper was just wet and filthy, and I was red and hot. And one of the neighbor ladies got a little bottle of water for me, and he said I was just gulping it down, and he said he'd never seen a thirstier baby in his life.
You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. Where you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back, and that's why so many are switching to Mint Mobile. With plans starting at $15 a month, Mint Mobile gives you premium wireless service on the nation's largest 5G network. The coverage and speed that you're used to, but way less money. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you're going to be chilling, literally and financially. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Think about how much you're going to be saving with Mint Mobile. With all these kids in my house, I'm looking at different phone options, and this is a steal. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/realitylife. That's mintmobile.com/realitylife. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. This is my favorite time of the year. Outside activities like hiking, swimming, and sports. I'm going to be spending a lot of time at the beach and the pool, and it's more important than ever to be hydrated. It's peak hydration season, and Liquid IV is the perfect companion for your hottest summer plans. They've just launched an exhilarating new flavor, Arctic Raspberry. Plus, Liquid IV has sugar-free solutions for smart hydration. You can explore the delicious sugar-free options including white peach, lemon lime, rainbow sherbet, and more. Plus, discover more fun flavors like cotton candy or popsicle firecracker. Just one stick and 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. An optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. No matter what your summer brings, tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first order with code KateCasey at checkout. That's 20% off your first order with code KateCasey at liquidiv.com.
What does he have memory of that crime scene, and what do you know of that crime scene? The state of her body, the state of the home. Were there any clues about who may have entered the home?
They believe it was somebody she knew because there wasn't a sign of a break-in. She was on the ground. She was just wearing a t-shirt because it had been bedtime. And it was a pretty brutal crime scene. Somebody had cut her throat, strangled her too, I believe. It was pretty gruesome.
Was there anything left behind? Cigarettes?
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that?
There were 2 different kinds of cigarette butts, and she did smoke. But that showed that somebody else was smoking too, because it was 2 types of cigarettes.
And at that time, I mean, technology has advanced so much. Did they do a rape kit? Did they do a toxicology report?
Mm-hmm, they did. And I only, in the past couple years, got access to her autopsy. So I've seen all of that. They did do a rape kit, and it shows she did have sex. I think that they say it was rape, but they can't say for sure. But there were fluids, and they did a toxicology report, and it wasn't anything crazy on it. I mean, She had some issues, but nothing terrible on the toxicology report.
So one can only assume that the police at this point begin their investigation, and the first question is, where is the ex-husband?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they had been separated a few months before this murder?
Only a few weeks.
Few weeks.
Yes.
And what was their relationship like at that point?
From what he told me, they actually got along well. They had their problems and they were trying out the separation, but he said they still ended up more often than not spending the night with each other, either at his house or her apartment.
And romantic relationship, like intimate relationship, or just spending time together because of the girls, because of you, the 2 of you?
I think both.
So what was, in retrospect, what was his reaction when his wife, Kathy, is found murdered in her home?
He had been sleeping. That's why they couldn't get a hold of anybody to find out where we should go. He was known for taking sleeping pills, unplugging the phone, and just going to sleep for like 24 hours. And that's what he had done. So the murder happened overnight, Friday into Saturday morning. And he was not alerted until Sunday morning. So almost 24 hours later. And his friend, everybody else in my family had found out what happened, but they were still trying to get a hold of him. So his friend went over and pounded on the door, told him what happened. And my grandma said that he just jumped in his car and raced over to her house. He wasn't even wearing shoes. And when he came in the house, all he could say was, "Where are my babies? Where are my babies?"
So at that point, what time does he wake up?
I believe it was probably close to lunchtime on Sunday.
My word. So what time did he go to bed?
He went to bed late Friday night.
Wow.
He was always like that. Even after everything that happened, he liked to sleep a lot.
Wow. So according to authorities or to his representation, what time did he go to bed the evening of May 30th?
He went to bed. He stayed up watching TV shows. I think he went to bed around 1 or 2.
Wow. And what time do they think this murder occurred?
Probably about that time.
And how far apart is the distance between where he fell asleep that night and where she was?
I'd say probably 15 minutes.
Okay. And was there anybody else who would have provided a substantial alibi for him?
Yes. And I know all this also because I read the trial transcripts last year. But he had several friends that came over throughout the evening that night, but I believe they all were gone by 11 o'clock.
Now, also important to note that the killer had left behind a bite-sized mark on her left breast.
Yes.
So I would assume that they would have done some sort of dental press or some. I would assume they would have done something to check to see if the bite mark would have matched his bite mark. Was anything like that done?
Yes, that's actually what convicted him, and that's also what exonerated him.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
When the first trial happened, my grandparents hired what they thought was a good lawyer. And one time this man had been a great lawyer, but by this time he was apparently the town drunk. It was to the point where he urinated and threw up in the judge's chambers at one point. But my grandparents had found this top dentist who was an expert on bite marks, but the lawyer just wouldn't listen to her, would not use this guy. And so the prosecution used supposed experts who had been out of dental school for like a year or something. They are the ones who prosecuted him, and that's what sent him to prison. But then when he had the second trial years later, they were able to get this top expert like in the nation to come. And that was the person who said, no, this does not match up at all.
Now, in the years that he was incarcerated, what was that like for the two of you? I know this other family had taken you in, but I would assume at that age, you're pretty well aware that you have a parent that is in a prison.
Yeah. When I was very young, they started off telling me that Daddy Greg was away working. And I guess for a while, that was all I needed to know. But then when I was 4 or 5, I started asking a lot more questions. And they took me to a child psychologist to kind of say, okay, what do we do? How do we tell her? And that person said, just tell her, like in baby steps, tell her what's appropriate for her age. So that's when they told us, your mother was beat up. They think Daddy Greg did it, and that's why he's in prison. But it was always clear to me from my family that he did not do it. And I don't ever recall a time when I thought he did. I've always known that he didn't do it.
Walk me through the moment where you found out that his conviction was overturned.
I was probably about 7, and I didn't know a lot about what was going on, but my grandma came over one day to pick me up and said, we have a surprise for you at the house. And when I got there, he was there, and I was excited. And we went on a walk, and he kind of explained to me, again, simply what was going on, that he was out. I didn't know at the time, but I didn't know that he could go back, but he could have gone back, but he was out, and he explained to me kind of what was going on. And apparently everybody we walked by on this walk, I would tell, oh, this is my daddy, and he just got out of prison.
Wow.
And he finally had to tell me, hey, let's keep that a little private. Let's not tell everybody that. But it wasn't until a few months later that the second trial happened, and he was completely free at that point.
So how old were you when this conviction was overturned?
I think I was 7.
So in the years after, how did you come to terms with the loss of time that you had with your father?
I don't know if I've ever really come to terms with it, to be honest. He missed out on my childhood from age 2 to 7, which is an important time in your life. He refused to let us come up to the prison to visit him because he did not want us to see him like that. But once he did get out when I was 7, I feel we picked right back up and had a great relationship from there. I didn't view him as my daddy because I had a father who was raising me who was my daddy, but I still had a great relationship with him.
And then how did it challenge the relationship with your adoptive parents? Was there any difficulty between those relationships? And did he get custody of you in any way?
No, he never did get custody. He did what was right for us. He knew it would be unfair to pull us away from the only home we had known. And he also knew that mentally he was not in a place at all to be raising us. So he never tried to do that. And as far as the relationship between he and the parents who raised me, it was good. They always were very open to him, and they never, had any problem with him when he would come into town, spending time with me or anything like that. He had issues because he felt a lot of shame and sadness that he wasn't raising us. And so I think it made him feel lesser than maybe around my parents. So that was kind of sad to see.
I'm really excited about my latest sponsor, Shocks. You guys are going to want to hear this. If you're constantly listening to content like me, you might be listening on headphones that have the noise cancellation feature. And that's cool when you're in a crowded place. But when you're going about your day-to-day, noise-canceling headphones can feel like you're in a black hole. It's isolating. Shocks headphones are here to solve that for you. Their innovative open-ear headphones let you stay both present and immersed at the same time. And Shocks is the leader and pioneer in open-ear technology, so the audio quality is incredible. I absolutely love the Open Fit 2 for all-day comfort, whether I'm on a walk, multitasking around the house, taking calls while doing carpools, or jumping into the latest docuseries. Visit shocks.com, that's SHOKZ.com, and use the code Kate Casey for $10 off your order. Stay tuned, stay open with Shocks.
Isn't it so nice to escape to a place that truly feels like yours? I was planning to update my backyard, and there's just something about a beautiful outdoor space that's so satisfying. It's like your own backyard oasis. Wayfair's got everything you need to level up your outdoor space. They have patio sets and lounge chairs, outdoor bars and hot tubs, fire pits, gazebos, and of course, string lights. It's so easy to have a one-stop where you can make over your entire space with a resort feel without that resort price tag. I looked at patio chairs and lights, and it felt like they had every color and style. And then I placed my order, and it came back so quickly, much faster than I would have expected. So now, here I am, with patio furniture that is so relaxing in my little oasis. No more huge delivery fees for patio furniture. You can get big stuff and more shipped for free. So don't wait. Make your outdoor space your dream oasis today with Wayfair, and you can enjoy it all summer long. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop a huge outdoor selection. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Well, also think about those that are exonerated and how they immediately have to begin a life where they need money to pay bills, to start a life, and how impossible it would seem to get hired. What was his life after exoneration?
It was pretty hard. He had post-traumatic stress syndrome, and he hated Oklahoma after what Oklahoma did to him. So as soon as he was legally able to, he left the state and he moved to Sacramento. And that's where he always lived after that. He loved Sacramento. He would come back several times a year to visit my grandparents and my sister and I. But he really struggled a lot. He never was able to hold down a full-time job again. He worked odd jobs. My grandparents helped him out a lot financially, but he really struggled a lot.
And in the years after, did he ever share with you who he think may have done this?
He did not. He didn't like to talk about it a lot. He never personally shared with me who he thought did it. No.
So a group of 11 forensic odontologists reviewed the bite mark evidence. They unanimously concluded that it did not match your father. Like I said, in 1991, his conviction was overturned. 1993 retrial. The judge entered a directed verdict of acquittal, meaning that the jury didn't even resume deliberation, having seen insufficient evidence. Your sister, you and your sister, what did this do to shape your life in terms of relationships that you have with other people? Did it make you weary of others?
No, not really. I've always been a very happy, just bubbly, open person. My sister, I think maybe it affected her differently. I was the older one, so I was the one everybody thought if anybody was going to have some, problems, it would be me because I had been around and seen more. But it really seems to maybe affect her more. She was just, I don't know, she never really settled down or married or anything like that, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody wants to, but she just had more relationship issues and stuff like that.
You have 3 children.
I do.
How have you broached the subject with them over the years?
I think just the same way my family did with me. I was just always open about it from a very young age, so they don't remember anything other than just knowing the story their whole lives.
Mm-hmm. At this point, when you look through the testimony, when you look through the autopsy, and the benefit of it being so many years later, and we know there are so many different advances in technology and investigations, what is the assumption that you have? What do you think happened to Kathy?
I think that it was probably a friend of hers, a male friend, obviously, who maybe she did drugs with occasionally. Maybe he was over at the house and maybe he wanted to have sex with her and maybe she didn't want to. Something happened. It was somebody she knew and was comfortable with, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel like you get signs from her?
No, I don't. I wish I did, but I don't.
What do you think this has done in terms of how has it helped you reshape the way that you look at different cases? Like, how do you think that how do you think that you're fundamentally forever changed because this happened?
I mean, my sister and I both love true crime, and we watch Dateline and 2020 and all that. And I'll just be watching a story. And then when I see a story where there's a baby who was there when it happened, and I'll be, oh, that's so sad, that poor baby. And then I'll think, oh, I was that baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a punch to the stomach to think about it like that.
Well, I'm thinking of the Jeffrey McDonald case.
Yes, I know that case.
And I'm assuming you watched that case and can only place yourself in that situation as well.
And I'm pretty sure the little girls were named Krissy and Kim, just like my sister and I.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's pretty miraculous that you both were saved by these neighbors and this thoughtful police officer that came through. I'm thinking now of all the other people that are included in this story. The officer
Mm-hmm.
that came, the neighbors, your adoptive family, the people in the church that were witness to this experience. And do you feel like you're forever connected to them because of it?
I do, yes. I loved when I got to connect with the officer a few years ago who found us. And I would love to connect with the neighbors who reached out to the officers to come to the home, because I've always wanted to tell them thank you. Because if nobody had found us, who knows what would have happened.
Well, so your father passed away at 59 in Sacramento.
Yes.
And he had remarried. And what was that like for her to lose him?
I'm sure that was hard on her. She kind of distanced herself from the family after it happened. I would have liked to have kept a connection with her. But yeah, I'm sure that was really hard on her.
Yeah. So he became active in Witness to Innocence, speaking across the U.S. against the death penalty. What was the most important message that he shared?
Just a message of hope, I guess. He loved, that was the one thing that gave his life meaning. after everything that happened to him, was getting to travel the country, speak at colleges, and speak against the death penalty. He had been for the death penalty before everything that happened to him. And it really changed him a lot as far as his mindset on the death penalty.
Mm-hmm. Well, at this point, is there an opportunity for this case to still be solved? Do they have evidence that could be used to find who the killer is?
I was always told that they had gotten rid of the evidence. But last year, I've been in touch with a woman from another state who's really into cold cases and stuff. And she has been helping me to reach out to the cold case department. And she kept on them a lot last year. And because of her, they were able to recover some of the evidence that had been lost. And so I'm hopeful that through that evidence, maybe something could happen.
If there's one thing that you want people to know, having been one of the two little girls that were in that crib that morning who lost both parents, and cases like this, what do you want people to know?
Just to be open to looking into the truth of a situation and not always assuming that it is the ex-husband or the wife or a significant other. There sometimes are other answers besides that.
Well, I'm so grateful for you sharing the story with me. And Krissy is in my Facebook group, so if you want to reach out to her, you could find her there. And I should also note that Jonathan Mark has a forthcoming television project, and she will probably be part of it. So hopefully we can get you some answers.
That would be amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my wonderful guest and remind you to click subscribe. Please leave a 5-star review. Join the Facebook group, Reality Life with Kate Casey. And also make sure you check out bonus episodes by going to Apple Podcasts and also Patreon, patreon.com/Kate Casey. And follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at KatCaseyCA, TikTok it's Kate Casey, and Twitter Threads and Blue Sky at Kate Casey. Make sure that you check out my new episode on Monday.
With the Spark Cash Plus card from Capital One, you earn unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase. And you get big purchasing power, so your business can spend more and earn more. Stephen, Brandon, and Bruno, the business owners of SandCloud, reinvested their 2% cash back to help build their retail presence. Now that's serious business. What could the Spark Cash Plus card from Capital One do for your business? Capital One. What's in your wallet? Find out more at CapitalOne.com/SparkCashPlus. Terms apply.